What's up, gang? It's been an interesting week to say the least. I saw death walking around close to where I live, and I went to the drag races with the in-laws. Here we go. And in that time, I decided to do a real in-depth review of a machine that I haven't quite sunk my teeth into yet on this channel, and that's this 27-inch late 2013 iMac. So what makes this one so special? It's had the piss upgraded out of it. And if you're watching this to see if you should buy one, the answer is a resounding yes. And here's why. So this one's running an i7-4770. It's a bit of an older generation CPU. However, it's still going strong. This one has 4 actual cores and 4 virtual cores for a total of 8. This machine has also got 32 gigs of RAM and a GTX 780M, which is a 4 gigabyte dedicated graphics card, which in a machine like this has a huge impact. So the Geekbench score on this machine is quite good. It had a single core score of 911 and a multi-core score of 3378. And it ranked right up there with a bunch of 2017 and 2019 iMacs as well. So it's putting out some decent power. It also ranked in the top 25 of all Intel iMacs ever built. Needless to say, there's some proof that this machine has a decent amount of power. So let's take a look at some games and do something that I don't typically do in these reviews, which is install Windows. And once we've installed Windows, we're going to play Fortnite. Starting out from scratch, we needed to restore this machine. So the first thing I did was do an internet restore, which restored to Mavericks, and then I remembered that I had a bootable El Capitan, which just kind of makes life easier with these. If you have one of these machines, instead of doing an internet restore, create the bootable El Capitan media and go that route. Because if you want to upgrade to High Sierra, to do it from Mavericks, you have to log in with your Apple ID. But to do it from El Capitan, you simply open the App Store and click install. And the same goes for adding Mojave from High Sierra, which is something that I did too, because if you know, you know that Mojave is in fact, ya bro. So with Mojave installed, it was time to get the train rolling, and the first game out the gate was Counter-Strike Global Offensive. CSGO is a classic game for me. It's one that I played, well, I played Counter-Strike 1.6 and a little bit of Source, but mostly 1.6 for a long time, so close to my heart. Anyway, you'll remember that there was a review done on this channel for a 2015 27-inch iMac that had a 2 gigabyte video card and 16 gigs of RAM, and it ran Counter-Strike playably, but not well. Next up, we're going to play some City Skylines. On the 2015 iMac with the 2 gigabyte graphics card, it was unplayable at any resolution. But on this machine with the 4 gigabyte 780M, it actually works. You could play this game. You know, it might lag probably as soon as the city gets big and out of control, but you know, that's City Skylines. So I'm going to go ahead and say City Skylines worked as it should and was a delight. I was starting to get hooked into it and feeling the game sink its claws into me. After City Skylines, it was time to boot up Subnautica. Subnautica, it ran and was playable, but this game really benefits from smooth graphics. The gameplay is good, and I think a big part of the mechanic, though, is kind of lulling you into feeling safe and normal, and then, you know, big scary things coming out to scare you, so kind of hard to do that when the game feels cartoony, though not impossible. But I would say playable, but not ideal. Borderlands 3 ran like absolute dog shit. I tried doing anything, and it just seemed to freeze up all the time. I also tried playing Ark, and Ark just froze up when I was in the server selection list, so both of those are a complete write-off. And I think that's kind of getting into territory that, you know, maybe not Ark necessarily, but I think Borderlands 3 is starting to get into like newer AAA titles, which probably isn't where this machine lives. Warcraft 3 Reforged ran as well as I expected it would. You know, that's just a rehash of an older game. And you know what? It reminded me of just how sad it is that Diablo II Resurrected is not available on Apple machines. Why? You know, the original game was coded for Apple. I have a copy of it on, well, I used to have a copy of it on my 21.5-inch iMac, which I recently formatted. But you know what? I bet you we're going to find a way to play D2R on this machine once we've used Boot Camp. And speaking of Boot Camp, it's time to install Windows. many windows. Maybe just one. The Windows installation went smooth as butter using the Boot Camp tool and a 16GB flash drive that I recently picked up off of Amazon. As you can see, we have represented some of the colors of the rainbow here. I believe I just said represented by accident, so my bad. With Windows installed, I was able to put all the regular game installers on the machine that you would expect, and then eventually install Fortnite. And with Fortnite installed, it was time to play the game. After waiting for it to boot up, I have to say, honestly, I am a bit shocked. I cannot believe how smooth this runs on this machine. It runs better on here than it does on my quad-core i5 desktop, which also has 32 gigs of RAM, but an RTX 3050. So, kind of feels like I got danced on by a tiny little leprechaun. You know, this slim package. I don't know if leprechauns are usually described that way. Surprisingly, also, Grand Theft Auto 5 ran great. I played some GTA Online on here, and while, you know, it probably could have benefited from knocking a couple settings down one level, I would say it ran as intended. It just felt like sometimes there was a little hesitation. That might also just be me using a crappy old wireless keyboard. And finally, we get to D2R, Diablo II Resurrected. Probably my favorite game of the year, so obviously it ran well on this machine. The Windows installation seems to be pretty bulletproof. I was expecting some things not to work, but you know, using the Boot Camp tool, it's there as intended as a utility on macOS. So pretty impressed overall. I'm actually starting to have mixed feelings about selling this machine. I really don't need another desktop. I already have 2 desktops that are set up right now that I use every day. One is for work, one is for personal use. A third one just doesn't really make sense for me, nor do I really have the space. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with about 100 computers, so this one's gotta go. I'm gonna say obligatory, I love the ladies. No, I love macOS, but I think the selling factor here for me is how smooth Windows works on this machine in addition to macOS. macOS is perfect for things like work or browsing or, you know, using Adobe software, things like that. I would just keep Windows kicking around for all the gaming that you want to do. Obviously, newer macOS systems don't support 32-bit apps. Windows 10 does, so go for it, you know? Install Windows 10, run all of your 32-bit, 64-bit games on there as well, and then keep the rest on macOS. So should you buy one of these machines? Yes, but here's the interesting thing about this one, and something that you might be able to look out for, although it's probably not a common break, but this machine has a Kleenex box underneath it because the spring that this machine pivots on is not working. So this one has a deficit, but it's not to its performance. It's not something that is going to affect its daily use, provided you just put some objects behind it to keep it at whatever level of tilt you want. So realistically, when I go to sell this machine, I'm going to have to sell it at a discount, even though it works perfectly fine, other than the tilt mechanism. So if you're in the market for one of these machines and you're local, hit me up. Otherwise, I think it's a great buy. I think even at the regular price that people are paying right now on eBay, this is still a great machine. Yes, it's 9 years old, but it does all the work you need to. Again, we live in interesting times where machines that are 9 or 10 years old can still do the tasks that you need them to. This one can do what I needed to and more in most cases. I'm not a guy who plays a lot of new AAA titles, but I do like playing Fortnite, and that seemed to work on here. I like Grand Theft Auto, same thing. So if it's going to run those games, it's absolutely going to run Premiere Pro, Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, all the Adobe suite. So I give this thing a resounding yeah. This is a 2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs up, ladies, machine, and I highly suggest. So if you made it this far, I want to thank you and also say please like and subscribe and let people know about this channel. If you think this content's good, check out all of our older videos. We got a lot of cool stuff on there, retro tech, you know, reviews of low-end Macs, restorations, Groupride, all that kind of cool stuff. I also, while I have you here, would like to thank the patrons of this channel, and you too can become a patron for $1 a month by checking out the link in the description below. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you to Andy, David G, Larry C, Justin M, Ron's Computer Vids, Jason S, Adam M, Groupride, Dave's Vintage Apple Tech, Trina C, Garth B, Mac84, Ethan P, Ron R, and Rudy's Retro Intel. So thanks, gang. You make dreams come true. For a weird Canadian lad. Talking about me. So don't be sad, get glad. Garbage bags and Ziplocs. What? Oh god, this mouse. This is like the worst mouse ever invented. Half the time you can't even click it because your finger's next to it. This is just the worst mouse ever invented.